Everyone, I just finished How I Met Your Father, and at first, I wasn't sure, but now I'm very sure I really love this show. So, okay, I know, before you click off this video, let me explain some things. I love the original series no matter what. I will always love it. There's some moments to this day that still make me tear up, and I just can't help it. I love that show, it left a sour taste in my mouth. Now, I probably don't have to explain my reasons here, and I know I'm not the only one out there who hated the finale of How I Met Your Mother. So, I tweeted this out last week, and the way I see it, the new How I Met Your Mother is how I feel about the Footloose and the 2011 remake. So let me go over this. Footloose was an 80s movie about a teen named Ren moving from Chicago only to realize the small Midwestern town he now calls home has made dancing and rock music illegal. It's a great movie. And in 2011, basically the same thing happened, but modern. Now, of course, when you ask which is better, you're probably going to say the original 80s movie, even if you didn't necessarily grow up in the 80s. Now I, having grown up in the late 90s, 2000s, more closely relate to the tale being told in the remake, because it's closer to my actual life experiences, having grown up in this era. Now, while bringing this all back to How I Met Your Father, the remake is closer to my actual life, being closer to the age of the characters. I can't say that I was in my late 20s in 2005, but I can say that I was in my late 20s in 2002, similar to when the new series takes place. This does give it a special place in my heart, just like the Footloose remake. That's not to say I couldn't relate to the characters, because of course I could. But the characters in How I Met Your Mother didn't have things like Tinder and TikTok, things that I have in my almost 30s. And I know, it was a little convenient for them all to meet like they did. But sometimes in life there are crazy coincidences, and they do happen. Especially in comedy TV too. It's pretty common. And the friendships they're building, they seem to be strong. They all seem like they're separate people looking to form a bigger group, which in a big city in 2002, where it's already hard to make connections, can be a bit of a tricky thing. I actually remember I moved away and there wasn't school involved and it was really difficult to make friends in the big city. I was actually using a friend Tinder app. I'm not joking, they exist, but back to the show. So spoiler alert for the rest of the video, just in case you want to go in the series without any information. I'll be talking mostly about the pilot and then some events from the rest of the season and of season 1. Both first episodes of the show centers around an engagement, and instead of Ted meeting the mother through a wedding, Sophie will meet her child's father at the night of her new friend's engagement party.
You forget the Beyonce tickets at the bar.
Hannah. Will you marry me?
Engaged and seeing Beyonce.
Oh.
I can't believe I'm getting engaged.
Will you marry me?
You want to go out sometime?
Of course, you idiot!
I like the way they parallel a lot of things between shows. Sophie meets the father at the start of this show, while Ted meets Tracy at the end of the other series. Both our shows start out with our Ted Mosby type character, Sophie. We're shown a lot of similarities between the two. She lives with her best friend in the city, and Sophie is constantly looking for love. As the episode starts, we're introduced to Sophie's best friend and personal marshal, Valentina. I've actually had a few friends like Valentina in my life, so her character for me wasn't out of the range of possibility. She's not similar to Marshall in How I Met Your Mother in personality, just in the fact she's Sophie's rock, best friend, and they live together in New York. We're also introduced to Valentina's hookup from London Fashion Week and now temporary live-in boyfriend, Charlie. In the opening of the show, we see Sophie's perfect date and another setup for a potential father, Ian. Ian is sweet and seemingly her soulmate, and of course, because it's Sophie and she is like Ted, timing is in the way, and he's moving to Australia because he's a marine biologist. On the way to the date, we are introduced to Sophie's Uber driver, Jesse, and his best friend Sid. Jesse is a cynical of love, while his best friend Sid is not. Sid's character actually mostly resembles Marshall from How I Met Your Mother. He really does love his fiancée/wife Hannah, even though she actually doesn't have many appearances in the show, living long distance away to finish med school. After accidentally switching phones in the Uber, Sophie is forced into a fateful situation and has to meet her old Uber drivers, Jesse and Sid, at Sid's bar where he mentioned earlier he is proposing to Hannah that night. The last character we meet, and the one who adds an extra character from the original cast, is Ellen, Jesse's adopted sister from Iowa, who is recently married but moved to the big city for a fresh start. So in our cast, we have 6 instead of 5. And sometimes it feels like a little too much, but once you get to know the characters individually, I feel like they all mesh well. It's interesting to see the characters have more than meets the eye. For example, Ellen and Jesse have a complicated history with divorced parents and never having lived together since they were children. And Sophie has an interesting childhood of her own. I gotta say, I do love some of the jokes in the pilot, but some of them just don't land. But then there are some great ones, like Jesse's proposal fail and the fact that Sid is lying to his girlfriend about going to see Beyonce for his surprise proposal, but doesn't think about the fact she might actually be kind of sad that she's not seeing Beyonce. As the show carries on, we see the friend group grow, and these people really start to become family to each other. Jesse and Sophie seem to be our new Ted and Robin, but I really hope they don't share a similar fate. But the similarities in the show do continue. Both shows' pilots include a proposal from two people in what will be our new friend group. And lastly, major spoiler alert here for the season finale. The impromptu "I love you," while Ted said it to Robin in the finale, Jess says it to Sophie at the season finale while half asleep.
Think I like your new French horn.
Think I like your nose.
Think I'm in love with you.
What?
What?
We fell asleep after an amazing night and all felt right with the world. Until...
I love you, Sophie.
Like I said before, I really like the symmetry the new Schroeders are chasing after here. Sophie, freaking out about it, leaves, returns to find Jesse has rekindled things with his ex. So both shows include funny and deep moments and manage to balance them well, which is something the first show really strived in. I think it's an interesting detail from the showrunners that we have the impromptu "I love you" in the pilot episode of How I Met Your Mother, but in How I Met Your Father, it's the finale. See, I feel like they're doing a lot of these different callbacks, and I'm really enjoying it. And I do gotta say, I love what they're doing to us with all the opportunities for dads in the show. We have Jesse, who is an amazing character, and I think they have really good chemistry, but time will tell where the story goes. Of course, Ian, her perfect date. He was just so sweet, and we learned in the season finale is returning just in time to rekindle things with Sophie. And as Robin pointed out multiple times, timing is everything. And lastly, the amazing Drew, portrayed by Josh Peck, Jesse's boss, who Sophie also met the night of the engagement party. So I also just love Drew's character. I really, really did. He was just so sweet. The show has some great cameos so far from the old cast of How I Met Your Mother, and I'm really excited how many more cameos there are going to be or things they're going to call back to. For example, did you guys remember the Cockamouse is still alive and in the apartment where Jesse and Sid now are? Because in the season finale of How I Met Your Mother, Marshall and Lily mention it as it runs past them. They're linking the shows together in really interesting ways, like the captain and boats being the reason why Ian has to come back in the finale. So I'm really excited to see where it goes, and if you haven't given it the first season a chance yet, or even beyond the pilot, I really encourage you to do so, as I actually find myself excitedly waiting for season 2, which they are filming and will have double the amount of episodes and hopefully will be out at the end of this year. I almost found the show is helping me heal from the original ending of How I Met Your Mother by resparking the love I once had for the show, by including characters and really making this world feel whole. So thank you guys for listening to the end of this video. I appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!